It's the day-to-day, slow buildup of pressures and demands on the spouse, partner, or adult child of this insidious disease that really wears us down emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And that's why 70% of family members caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's or a dementia will develop a chronic, life-altering health condition or succumb before the person with the disease. Let me just review that with you again. 70% of the family members caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's or form of dementia will develop a chronic, life-altering condition or succumb, that's die, before the person that they are caring for. That is the intensity of the life you're living in. And I know that personally, firsthand. My mother has Alzheimer's, and my father was her principal care provider. And it wasn't until after my father died and I was doing all my research for my book, Pathways, that I stumbled upon this information. And that's when I realized that's what caused us to lose our father. It was the intensity of the day-to-day life. And that was also the beginning of my passion to help other families. We had so much anger realizing that we lost our father because of this disease, because of the pressures he lived with. And then when I became very hands-on for them, and this was before he passed, eventually I realized that I was losing myself. You just don't see it coming because it is day to day. It's a slow pressure buildup. You know, I use the analogy of putting your hand in warm water, putting it on the stove, and you kind of forget that it's there. And that cool water gets warm water, then it starts boiling, and then you look over there and you've burned your arm, you've burned your hand. Well, that's what happens. It's just inch by inch, drop by drop. All those behaviors you're living with, all the changes, the physical changes, the ups and the downs, it takes its toll. Oh, I know, you're fine. Oh my goodness, how often I've heard the very comment from members of support groups and clients. I've been in this a very long time, so I know how easily we confuse reality with fact. You see, we internalize the pressures, the pain, the sadness, the anger. That's what causes our health problems. It's the internalization of all of this. Oh, maybe not right now, not right away. Though I can promise you, and again, this is through evidence-based reality, you will implode. So self-care is critical. Now let's get started. Self-care begins with deleting denial and accepting reality. You know, denial is not even an effective strategy for you. It just really limits your ability to properly support and aid your loved one. Let's be honest. Accept that you can't hit the rewind button to recapture the parts of the person who are slipping away, and you can't continue towards the future the way you planned before. You are creating a new normal. That's a really essential step. Delete denial and accept reality. And here's another big tip. I invite you to replace guilt with regret. What? What? Replace guilt with regret? All right, here's the K. Hammond definition of guilt. Guilt applies when you've done or haven't done something to someone else at their expense, when you've been purposely injurious to someone. Okay, well, what's regret? My definition of regret is what you feel when you can't make something happen that you'd otherwise like to. Listen to these messages. Oh, I feel guilty that I live so far from my mother and I can't see her more often. You know, I just regret that I live so far from my mother and I can't see her more often. I feel guilty when I go out with my friend for lunch and that Harry can't be out too. You know, I just so regret that when I go out with my friends, I can't have Harry come too. I feel so guilty about what's happening to my father. Oh, I so regret what's happening to my father. Oh, I feel so guilty. I should be doing more. Gosh, I just so regret I can't do more. Doesn't that feel lighter? Would you like to fix their health? Well, of course you would. Can you? No, we can't. So please, delete the word and the feeling of guilt and acknowledge your regret in having no control over this disease. You know, the irony is your loved one will have so much less stress in time. And while your stress levels are going to be bumping into dangerous levels, you're juggling the responsibilities you used to share and trying to cope with that new person who keeps showing up. And please remember, the disease is inside that person. It's not the person. And if you don't acknowledge that reality, your loved one begins to not be important to you anymore. Your loved one begins to disappear before your eyes.